It really helped me when we did Lord of the Rings.
Oh, sure.
Which is not my genre. And we just did that a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped me a lot to talk to people who loved it.
Welcome to Classical Etc. You are in the studio with Memoria Press.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Classical Etc. I'm Jessica Aboud and I'm with Paul and Tanya today. Martin couldn't make it to this one, but we're going to carry the weight for him.
Gosh, and we'll miss him.
I know.
It sounded halfway genuine, Tanya.
Our desks are next to each other, but Tanya's like, Friday without Martin. What?
I mean, life could be a little simpler when Martin's not in the office.
Our office is quieter.
That's true. That's true. We'll miss him, but we are going to tackle some questions you've sent us. This is one of our mailbag episodes. If you have any questions, you can email podcast@memoriapress.com. We would love to hear from you. We're about to get to some questions of people who have emailed us recently. But before we get to that, we are recording this close to a weekend when we are supposed to get apocalyptic weather. Mm-hmm. It's January here, and I think we're in for some ice and snow. Is everybody prepared with their reading for when we get snowed in?
You know, last week when we did that books of 2026, and I brought in 6, that was literally just a tiny piece of my goal for 2026. So I have plenty to read.
Okay.
Well, I kind of look forward to the snow in order to be hunkered in, be forced to stop.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'm probably going to be shoveling and keeping snow off of greenhouses and keeping animals alive for all weekend.
Because it's not just snow, it's going to be freezing.
Right. But once the snow stops, then it'll be one of those, I won't have much to do outside and just will actually have time.
And you don't have to worry about heat, do you? Do you have a wood stove?
I do. Well, I mean, I have a regular HVAC. I've got.
But I mean, you could survive. I couldn't.
Oh yes, I do have a wood. I do have a wood fireplace that would heat the whole house.
If I lose power, I have to go to a hotel.
And then your pipes will freeze. That'd be awful.
Yeah.
You got to leave your pipes dripping.
We leave them dripping.
Yeah.
I don't take care of that.
Are you doing an audiobook? Because you could listen to a book during your chores.
Normally I do. Yes. Yeah. Now I don't have one queued up right now because I just finished one that I need to talk about of what I've been reading.
Which is?
Stoner. Now, Stoner.
This was a suggestion. Was this a Mitchell suggestion?
Mitchell told me I needed to read this, and he told me he hated it. But I took his suggestion, but he told me I needed to read it also because Shane liked it.
Oh, and Mitchell didn't. So where do you fall?
I'm solidly on Mitchell's side on this one.
But we're not going to tell him?
No, he knows. So he told me, he's like, I've got thoughts written down. When you finish, I'll send it to you. And I sent to him, and then he sends me, it's like a 3-page, on a phone text message. And after he sends it to me and he goes, yeah, that does feel more like a rant now that I reread it. And, but then I texted Shane and I said, Shane, I have a bone to pick with you because this book is awful. Stoner is awful. And he goes, hi, you've been talking to Mitch. And Shane's words were, this is just a regular review for this book. It is awful in its bleakness, but it also captures something of the capriciousness of life and the pull of learning and the life of the mind. But I understand why you'd hate it.
What's it about?
It's about this child that grows up on a farm and he goes to university to study agriculture, but then in his first year, he is required to take an English literature class and it changes his life. And he ends up deciding to stay at the university. He gets a doctorate. He ends up teaching at the university, never leaves. The reality though is everything is framed in that book as life happens to him. He does not do anything. Until, it gets to a point where there's a doctoral student that he thinks needs to get failed and there's all these politics in the university and he, but he's very passive. Just, it's very much just he has no agency. And it was infuriating to me because I'm just man up and make a choice. Right.
How bizarre.
Even in a selection of his, of who he wants to date and get married to. And all of it's very, very, it happens to him. and never that he makes a decision to go after something.
Why did Mitchell think you should read it?
I think he just wanted me to suffer with him.
Okay. Well, that sounds like Mitchell.
And Mitchell was reading it with Shane and Mitchell's twin brother. And Mitchell's brother and Shane both liked it.
So he needed somebody else. He needed somebody else on his side, of course.
And but Mitchell and I are very similar in a lot of the ways we think just about life and just, what you're going to do and that sort of thing. And I think Shane and Mitchell's brother are a little bit more
aligned
in the way life hits them, that they found something more in it than Mitchell and I did. So it's not recommended. I've asked a few people that I've because this came out in 65.
Oh, it's not a new book.
It's not a new book.
The title is Stoner, and that's the man's name, isn't it?
That is the man's name.
Okay.
Yeah. And
is this an author that's written a lot of stuff?
John Williams?
Well, there could be a million.
The introduction or the dedication of the book said it was dedicated to all the faculty at that university in Missouri. So I think it was a university professor that maybe wrote the book. And so, no, I don't know that he's known for other things. And when I went and looked, it had an initial print run of 2000 and then wasn't reprinted for 20 years. And all of a sudden, in the 90s, early 2000s, it took on a life again.
Huh.
And I don't really know why.
For people like Shane.
For people like Shane, I guess. I don't know. But I don't recommend it. But this is me saying I've read, I don't know, a more recent book.
There you go.
It wasn't as recent as Trust that I just finished, but and it was and it was awful. The Stoner, I would not recommend it. Don't read it.
So are you going to read an actual book during the snow, or are you going to do audiobooks?
When I'm outside, I'm sure I'll be listening to something, but I do intend to.
So you'll be doing 2?
I'll probably be doing 2. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. How about you?
I started listening to Against the Machine. It's got a very good narrator, but then I go back and kind of reread it as well. So I'm still working on that. And you're going to say this is so typical of me. I am 8 pages away from finishing North and South. And rather than finish it this morning, I thought, it's 7:30. I need to leave. But now I can look forward to it tonight. But literally, I was just like, oh man, 10 minutes and I could just be 10 minutes late. But no, structured me,
by the book.
Got in the car. That's right. And now I have 8 pages left. And I'm telling you, I just didn't appreciate it the first time that I read it like I do now. And this is another book where, it's just she goes through so much grief throughout the book. Both of her parents die, and then her godfather dies, and everybody she just has a really bad couple of years. But there's so much hope in it and her perseverance through it. But also, it does such a good job with grief and how your brain, shuts down. Elizabeth Gaskell is just a beautiful author. She really is. And I've loved everything I've read by her, but I need to read more. There's just not enough time. But now I think I'm going to start Mars Catlett and go ahead and read that.
That's the new
by Wendell Berry
book. Yeah.
And then, but I'm really dying to reread.
Just to read that alongside you.
Well, let's do that.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about it together next time. And then I think Sense and Sensibility is going to be next for me, even though that wasn't on my 2026 list. I've now added 3 books.
No, you brought it in.
Well, no, I added it after I made my 2026 list, just based on when I did the conference at HLS Beaufort with, a conversation I had around a table.
And now you and Martin are both going to read that this year.
Yes.
Yeah. It's on his desk. Yeah.
It is on his desk. Not sure why.
I think all the books he brought in
are still there.
Did he leave it on his desk?
So
he's not going to be reading them this year.
Right.
They're going to sit on his desk.
That's right.
Martin.
He won't remember what they were.
I think I brought the book I'm about to share about to our episode we did last week about what we're reading in 2026. Someone in my book club gifted me a book called By Her Own Design by Piper Hughley. And it's a biography that's been a little bit fictionalized about a woman named Anne Lowe. She was a prolific fashion designer, but she went really largely unnamed because she was an African-American. in the Jim Crow era, but she did stunning work. A lot of her work, I believe, is in museums like Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress and just really interesting things. And so it's a story about her life and her career.
And it's so, you think fashion, but I love to read about it. And did you read Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris?
No, but I know what you're talking about. Is it good?
I thought it was a charming little book. That this woman just was just had to have this dress.
Right.
And it's so unimportant.
Right.
But it was really important to her. And I feel like this is going to be, too, just a celebration of fashion, which I love clothes, so I do like fashion, but...
And one person's life that makes it different, just the grit that she would have had. She ultimately, she went blind because of her work. The work was so detailed. So anyway.
Wow.
I'm excited to learn more about her in that era too. It's just an interesting perspective on a woman in that era trying to have a career that with, of course, an enormous amount of talent.
Right. So, but couldn't really become a named designer.
Right. So I don't know much about it, but that is on my nightstand and I'm excited to get snowed in and read it. I know on the last episode I mentioned a little curveball in my book list this year is a cookbook. I committed to cooking through it this year. And I will say, just to defend myself, I know it's not a novel. I know it's not high literature, but if you're someone like me who reads cookbooks a lot, how they're written really matters. Because if you can't follow the recipe,
right? And this one is good.
It's beautiful.
And I would never read a cookbook, but I know people do. I know people do.
Oh yeah, I know.
I just don't. I can't understand that.
I'm feeling a little left out by this whole conversation.
I love fashion,
cookbooks.
It seems a little. It seems
you
fluff.
You could become a cook, and you could dress more fashionably.
Yes, I could.
And the
At least you don't have a cow tie on today.
The recipe that I made most recently
Bucks
was a pot roast, but it was elevated. It had red wine, bay leaves.
That's wonderful.
So see, it's for the everyman.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
It's more the fashion conversation that got me left out. But
sorry. Have you seen The Devil Wears Prada?
I have not.
Really?
So
that's
good.
a fun movie.
Sarah could probably quote it.
Well, there's that scene where, is it Anne Hathaway that just doesn't understand why she has to have a certain color belt or something? And Meryl Streep goes off on that rant about this is why fashion is important. And just for you to get to this belt, this is all that had to happen.
It's a good movie.
The Devil
Would this
Wears
be
Prada.
my introduction to fashion? Is that what I should
it
go
might
do?
as well be. It's a
be.
great movie.
Oh.
If you're snowed in and you don't want to read anymore, Sarah would watch it with you, I'm sure.
She probably would, but we started noticing our little foster baby we have at 2 months old. There was one night we were like she was should have been falling asleep. We were watching TV and the baby was only quiet when she could see the screen. And we were like, no more TV when a baby's awake.
Yeah. Brutal, but got to do it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was, I mean, we were sort of like, okay, like if, we were kind of trying to keep the phone away from what she could see and whatever, like whenever we were on it. But then that night, it was just so stark to us that she was already like, that keeps me calm. And we were like, no, you're going to learn to be calm other ways.
Really?
Right. Regulate yourself without a screen.
Yes.
We could all use training in that, I think.
Yes, we could.
I could.
We're going to try to help her with it. So.
Yeah. Well, on to our mailbag. Here is our first question. This is from Shannon, and she is in Nebraska. She's the director at a classical school. And she says, hello, I've been homeschooling with Memoria Press for 2 years now, and I recently became the director of a classical Christian model school this fall. We'll be using Memoria Press for Start Reading, Storytime Treasures, and several of the literature guides for the other grades, which is fantastic.
Yes.
She says, so I am suggesting that my teachers listen to Novel Thoughts, which is one of our podcasts, as they prep their literature selections and prepare to teach this fall. And then she tells us they're reading Amelia Bedelia, Brambley Hedge, Heidi, and books in our literature sets. She says, I know you all are very busy, but it would be lovely if more Novel Thoughts episodes are in the works. So we haven't put one out in a while.
Haven't.
So
it
she's
kind
right.
of got
Shannon,
on the back burner.
We know.
Yeah. Everybody just got really busy, and production was very busy and couldn't really give us the studio time.
And it took, it was a good amount of work for you all.
It was like a whole day to tape one.
You had to go read the book, you had to prep for it, then you had to tape it.
And when we did the read alouds, we had to read 34 books and then put them all together by theme. And it is a lot of work, but I do understand that they're helpful to people. And so we would like to do something, maybe something simpler that would not take as much time so that we could actually get it done.
Right.
Eventually. And I'm sorry that we haven't given people more.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for Shannon as she leads her team of teachers who are trying to, it seems like, collaborate together before they get into the classroom around some of the books that their students are reading? How do we do that?
They're actually in the classroom now because this was last May. And so she is, she's a semester in if she actually got started, and it would be great to hear how it's going. But when we were young, we did used to read the books together. In fact, we're going back now and doing some of that in our Memoria Press book group because we have so many new employees that maybe haven't read some of the books that we've read. Right. So we're taking some of them and re-talking about them. But she could do that it's hard with like Amelia Bedelia and Brambley Hedge because they're
younger
picture books, but you could do the whole grade together if everybody would be willing to do it. And a lot of schools, like when we were young, we would do some of that, but we would also read articles from the classical teacher, and Martin would lead us in a discussion, usually of an article that he wrote. And it was a really good way to build that community for a young school. And you could do the same thing here with the actual curriculum, so that because really everybody should have read. All teachers should have read eventually the books that came before they taught, so that they have the same context as their students, and the books that come right after them, so that they can start pointing out some things that they're going to see in the next year. So that would be a great way to do it.
Yeah. And for, a teacher that maybe is assigned to a book that they're not seeing the value in, discussing it with others does help. We just talked about Wind in the Willows, and I came in negative. I'm still kind of sour on the deal, but you
feel a little better?
I can see some value that I did not see prior. So if I were in a position where I had to teach it, I could draw on some of that maybe isn't 100% convincing to me, but it'd be something that I could bring some passion to the students in. So any sort of group that you can get together to discuss those things.
It really helped me when we did Lord of the Rings.
Oh, sure.
Which is not my genre. And we just did that a couple years ago. And it helped me a lot to talk to people who loved it and to find out why they loved it. And then I could have some kind of appreciation for it, even though I'm still not really a fan of orcs.
You don't have to be a fan of orcs to be a fan of Lord of the Rings. They're the bad guys.
I liked Aragorn because he was good looking in the movie.
Shannon, there you go.
I saw the movies first, so then when I read the books, I could picture him as being whoever he was, Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
That
was the actor.
Well, we're doing movies today.
That's right. We've covered a couple. Okay, here's another email, and this question comes from Anne Marie. She says, "Hello. Based on your I'm bored conversation recently, I wanted to ask your advice regarding young men and how to keep them engaged when they're very active. My 13-year-old son does Memoria Press at home. He does well with his work, but his stamina is still low for sitting still, so there are many breaks," which we'd say is probably normal.
Yes.
When the school day is done, he struggles to find things to do outside of video games. books don't hold his attention, and I'm wondering how you all recommend increasing attention span, or whether offering more active chores and hobbies might be a solution. Open to throwing the video games in the trash, she says. Great question, Anne-Marie.
I didn't throw them in the trash, but I did encourage my children to go outside a lot. And I had their friends over a lot because we were homeschooling and their friends weren't being homeschooled for the most part. And so after school, sometimes I would just go pick them up. So because once their friends were there, they were outside or they were destroying my house, but they were active, with each other. So I did make an effort because they will, it's, at least for me, it was unlikely that after a day of school, my kids would want to sit and read a book. Right. It's just, and you can speak to that. You were homeschooled.
I mean, I would sit and read a book after being homeschooled, but typically my homeschool day was done by noon. Because we'd start by 9, we'd get our work done, and then I had 4 hours before my neighbor would get home from school, and I'd go out and play basketball with him or whatever once he got home. But I had hours that, I know I played some computer games, but there was expectation of you're doing your chores, but there was always something to do outside. But, I noticed this with our nieces and nephews that they stayed a week with us in August, and they had work. They had just started school. And they had work to do, but they were constantly going outside, right? Because they're on the farm, right? They're constantly going outside. And so they were very happy. Everything was great. Like they were a pleasure to be around, but also like, I was very clear, like you've got to, when I come home, I'm going to check your work, right? Like, so you got to get it done. If you need to ask Aunt Sarah to help you, whatever, but you got to get that done. Well, then we had them for 4 days after Christmas. After New Year's. And it was a completely different experience
because it was winter?
Because it was winter. And I think one of the things from my perspective that I've seen is that they're allowed to play video games when it's inclement weather outside. And so they're just like, it's cold, I get to play video games. So sorry, there's no video games in my house. Like you can't. So you got to find something else to do. And in those 4 days, the light bulb that hit me was, now as an uncle, I can pull this. Now I don't know if I can pull it off as a parent, but as an uncle, they tell me I'm bored, and I turn to them and I say, I'm so happy for you. This is one of the best moments of your life. Boredom creates genius. It creates opportunity. I'm very happy for you. So like that sort of shifts the narrative because they come to you and they say, I'm bored, because they want you to give them something to do. Right. But what boredom does is it forces them to start to develop their imagination and find creative ways to entertain themselves.
And did they?
Enough. Yeah, sure. I mean, because I'd say that, and 5 minutes later, I don't know what, they're downstairs playing games, and I'm like, great, thrilled that, and, oh no, my other sister, when her kids were in the boredom phase, she did a boredom jar. And in the jar were a whole bunch, just little things. You just pick one out of the jar, and whatever it was, it could be, something like, go play this game with someone, or, but it could be go scrub the toilets, or it could be, so it could be like a range of things, right? And it was her way of getting them to not be bored anymore, but say, you've got your parameters. And so you could throw out the video games. If you say you're bored, okay, it may say you need to go read a book. Well, you go read a book, right? For half an hour or whatever, but it was a way of, as a parent, not struggling with feeling that you have to entertain them.
That's creative.
It is. My sister's very creative.
Yeah. And they did it. They would. Because if I was a kid, that would make me want to be like, I'm never going to say I'm bored.
Well, that was part of her goal, right? Really? Part of her goal was not say I'm bored. Yeah. And like, it is perfectly fine for this parent to throw the video games in the trash, or say, look, you get to play them for an hour on Sundays. Like, that's it. Like, it's perfectly fine to do that, and say, when the child says I'm bored, say, okay, find something to do. Yeah. Like, you don't have to be the entertainer for your child. And the more that they sit there bored, actually, the longer their attention span gets. That's how you you create an attention span is by not allowing them to jump from thing to thing to thing.
I just learned not to be bored because my mother would give me something to clean. And so I just knew not to ever say that I was bored. But my kids, they loved Legos and they loved,
and that can be a long task.
They never loved to color because I think, boy, if you like to color, that could take, yes.
Yeah.
But Legos can take a long time.
Oh, yes.
They can get pretty complex.
They can do
hours
that
and
for
days.
hours. And I felt like that was a very good use of their time. And I did try to limit the video games. Some days I did better than others, depending on what I had going on. But I never got rid of them, but I did encourage other things and tried to make other things accessible for them.
Yeah. And I don't know, one of my nephews for Christmas got it's an electric set that you have to learn how a circuit works, and you can they kind of snap together, and you can have it play things like audio things or turn on lights or whatever, and it's sort of like a Lego level, but it gives them something to do, and because you talk about action, right? Getting them outside, but even giving something with their hands to actually do something,
something creative.
Something creative is helpful because I remember playing with Legos for, a lot of my childhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe some of it depends on where she lives. Is she in an urban environment? Is she in a place where they have more space? Maybe she lives in a place where she has more space, and she might have a neighbor a couple houses down like Paul who says, come on, I've got a lot of things. Yeah. So it might just be kind of thinking about your place and your context. Because I can think of, whether you're in a city or a more rural area, community is very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in a rural area or suburban area and there's a tree, build a tree house, I mean, kids will spend hours in tree houses with nothing but the tree,
It's true.
Their imaginations can take them places. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Moving on to the next one. This next question is from Caroline. She says that she very much enjoys the podcast, and her students attend a Highlands Latin college school in Colorado. So that's wonderful, Caroline. She says, I especially enjoy your discussions on what books you're reading. I was so surprised to hear Tanya's thoughts on the unselected journals of Emma M. Lyon. She says she's reading the series. She just started volume 7, and it's been a wonderful read, as Tanya said.
You don't know how many people have told me about
and she
those
says
books.
Her book club online is reading it right now.
That's what you need to put on your list for the weekend.
Oh, to finish?
For the snow. To read some more Emma.
I know. They do go fast.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah. But I wanted to make sure that we read Caroline's comment, because I don't know if that series is really special. But I think it highlights that we probably are reading a lot more in common than we might even know.
Right.
Or if someone makes a suggestion, we love to hear it, because it could be fantastic. And then we all get into something.
Yes. And that really happened with that more than anything. But we get such great recommendations for books that I haven't read.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm pretty well read.
Yeah. And people should keep sending us their recommendations for books, because in some ways people know, I will say something in passing on this podcast, and then somebody will come up to me and say, hey, you had this thought about this book. And and I'm like, I don't really remember saying that. Listeners almost know us better than sometimes we know ourselves, right? Just because they're very intentionally listening to what we're saying.
And we're not.
You're not as intentionally listening to me as a listener would.
That's true.
And so sometimes their recommendations of what book we would like actually is way better spot on than, what we might recommend to each other. So
I've gotten some great recommendations in the past year for some of the best books that I've read in the past year. And new authors like Rumor Godden. I'd never read her. How did I miss her all these years?
Right. What was her last name was Googe, right? What?
Oh, Elizabeth Googe, right.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That's another one that I thought was a children's author. And then there was this great epic book that she wrote. So keep them coming.
Yeah.
And then I'll get nervous again because I'll have too much to read.
2027 is already looking full. Well, thank you, Caroline. This next question is from Tony. He is in Pennsylvania. He says, my name is Tony, and my family is a Memoria Press homeschool family with currently one in kindergarten. He listens to the podcast every week and enjoys our conversation and banter. So there we go. Yeah. He says, I believe, and assumingly you all do as well, that passing on the stories, art, music, and generally speaking, culture of traditional Western civilization is important. That is having myself and my family being culturally literate in the great books and works of art. That being said, what are your thoughts on also being culturally literate in the pop culture of the past 70 years? I shield my children from most TV shows, movies, and music of the current generation. I do this because it's for the most part false, bad, and ugly.
Amen.
Yeah.
Except we've mentioned 2 movies today.
Yeah, we have.
But is this to my children's detriment? Am I handicapping my children in cultural content knowledge? And will not having this content knowledge hurt them interacting with others in their cohort in the future? A good example is that when someone asks my daughter who her favorite princess is, her answer is Margaret Rose or Saint Elizabeth of Hungary. When the person is asking about Belle or Elsa, which I love that example, Tony. He says, thanks for all that you do. As a side note, you all have inspired me to pick up Latin by using a mix of your books, Duolingo, and I've never heard this, but Legentibus? It must be a program, but that's awesome, Tony. And fantastic question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I would not worry about pop culture. For one thing, it's going away.
It is and he mentions songs, movies, like so much of it is a flash in the pan.
It is.
Yes.
And not worth your time or brain cells.
Yes. And
whether it's celebrities or music, a lot of it just comes and goes.
yeah. And I really love the example of the princess, right? Like that's, it's
like she's admiring real people.
Right. Like, and that, like there are real princesses in the world that are worth emulating, right? But there is a real, like, I think there's a legitimate fear here, right? Especially when you're homeschooling. Like, are my kids going to have any shared stories to talk with other people about? And I think even as much as you shield them, as long as you're, not completely out in the woods with no electricity, right? Like they're going to pick up some of the stuff as they get older. In 5-year-old kindergarten, all they know is you, but they're going to start picking up some of that stuff. And, you can show them, whether it's movies or the songs or whatever, the best things, right? But even if you don't, they're going to pick it up, right? Just as they get older. And so I wouldn't worry about it. I totally see why the worry is there.
Oh yeah, because you don't want your child to feel like they don't belong in a group because everybody else knows who some pop star is, and your child doesn't have any kind of idea about that. So it is a worry, but it's not a necessary worry. As a parent, I would have worried about that, but now looking back, I would think that didn't hurt my kids.
Yeah, but also like, if you go the other way where you're like, well, they need to know, so I'm going to let them be exposed to it, then they get swept away in it, right? And so if you have the perspective of I'm going to try to shield them as much as I can, then they're going to get some of it, but they should be solid. And
we struggle some in our classrooms with students, young students who know more than they should about pop culture because they have older siblings who have exposed them to it. And so sometimes that causes a little bit of trouble for our principals, because they have to deal with that then, and it's inappropriate things that they know that they shouldn't know, that they get from their older siblings. But so that, I don't know if this is an older child or
no, it's he said
one in kindergarten. Okay. Okay. So I wouldn't worry about it yet for sure, but I do see why it's on his mind. But you can also do, like, for music, you could do some Broadway musicals.
There are some fun soundtracks.
There are some current things that you could do. Movies, I'd be very careful. There are some really uplifting movies though, like the Best Christmas Pageant Ever movie was well done. TV shows, my husband always watched Andy Griffith, so that's what my kids got to see. Uplifting.
But one thing you said when you mentioned the Best Christmas Pageant Ever, what came to mind actually was the fact that there is so much pop culture now. Like it used to be, right? You had your few radio channels, and so you knew what everybody was listening to.
That's true.
Or you had your couple of television channels, and everybody at Saturday,
everybody watched the same
8
thing.
p.m. was watching the same thing. That is not the case anymore. And so there's actually very little shared knowledge
that is
anymore because everybody's watching their own stuff. And so, even if you were to aim for it, you're probably going to miss it, right? They're not going to get the shared knowledge with other people, just because if somebody says, I don't know, vampire stuff, like that's all they could watch, only that, and still watch something all the time, right? Or whatever it is. And so other parents who are not as intentional, who aren't curating that, well, their kids are going to end up siloed in whatever their one particular interest was.
Yeah, that's a good point that, Paul, you and I are probably of a generation where Friday night people watched things like TGIF or something, like there were a couple shows, Full House, Family Matters, and people knew about that and they watched it or they didn't, but you knew a new episode was coming out and it was a cultural moment. But at this point, you're right. None of us are really watching the same shows or
we're
listening to the same thing.
Different things. We've got just an unbelievable variety to choose from.
And even what we do take in, it's here today, gone tomorrow in a lot of ways. So I wonder someone, even if this student, I know she's 5, but say she was 18 or 21 going out into the workforce or something, would she have to acclimate a little bit? Of course, just like everybody does. But then I think you'd probably realize, there's a lot out there.
Right. And I mean, if she prefers to go watch Broadway shows and operas rather than going to the latest Taylor Swift concert, that's probably good for her, right? Like it's all about what do they want to be at, and once they leave the home, right? And it's much better to want to go watch the Nutcracker than whatever else is out there.
That's right. That's why we don't teach a lot of modern history in school. Even through high school, we spend very little time on the 20th century in American history and European history. Well, European more because we've got to do those world wars. But it's because it's so changing, and you really can't make any kind of, you can have opinions about it now, but you really can't look back and see the significance of it because we're in the middle of it.
Yeah, you don't know what's important.
Right. That's right. So we just felt like it wasn't a good use of time. And this is the same thing. It's so he's going to pass on to his child cultural literacy that is great art and music and good books.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's something that will stay with her forever.
Great question, Tony. Thank you. Go ahead.
I would just suggest, though, that like if you do say like we want to have a family movie night, right? Like once a week or once a month, there are so many great old movies, right?
Sure.
Right.
And going back to the woman's question about boredom, right? Like if they like the older movies, those are the ones that don't have the quick scene cuts and whatever.
Sure.
And so you're not setting them up for these short attention spans that the newer stuff knows how to feed.
Well, that was a great note to end on. Tony, thank you for the excellent question, and to everybody else who emailed us. If you have any questions, book recommendations, anything at all, we would love to hear from you. You can write us at podcast@memoriapress.com. We will do our best to either answer it on the air or send you an email to give you some resources and answers. I think that's it for this episode, but we will be back next time. Thanks for joining us today on Classical Etc. by Memoria Press. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, or share this episode or comment. We love to hear your questions and your comments. If you want to learn more about Memoria Press, please go to memoriapress.com. This has been Classical Etc. We're so glad you joined us, and we'll see you next time.